Ythes o hwy o Miras Orth, Canol Cerno.
Well, welcome to another episode of the Cornwall Channel, and this week is our year on TV. Over 52 hours of bringing Cornish television to you, our viewers, and we thank you very much. And I'm doing the intro this week from the Cornwall Business Show here at Kingsley Village. Very apt, as we have a very special guest on the show today. Well, before I tell you what's coming up in the show, we've got to say a massive thank you to everyone at Information TV who has made our year on TV so easy. Our thanks to Damien, Anthony, and Mr. Fred Perkins, of course. So, coming up in the show this week, this is what we have for you. Well, coming up first in the programme tonight, we have a feature on fishing here in Cornwall. And then we get into a half-an-hour, two-part interview with Mr. Theo Paphitis. Well, after our interview with Theo Paphitis, we then run a documentary video on the winners of Cornwall's Got Talent, the Flats and Sharps. And then following that, we have a digital postcard from our friends at Visit Cornwall. Farmhouse Studios do it right. Because we're on Sky TV, it costs a fortune. We can't afford luxuries as this. But you'll see, this is what is known as a slider. And what happens is he'll move that and slick, absolutely slick. So,
would you like to have a play?
No, I can't touch what I can't afford. Oh, look at that. Is that the right speed? You know, something like that.
Beautiful glide rails, which are self-lubricating.
Oh.
Gives that real nice cinematic slide sweep effect.
Can you just look down the camera then and just say who you are and say you're watching the Cornwall Channel?
You're watching the Cornwall Channel.
You've got to say your name. You've got to say your name.
Oh, yeah. Hello, I'm Jamie Reid. You're watching the Cornwall Channel.
Shelley, we've got Theo on the show this week. Any message to Theo why he should come down here to Cornwall?
Well, I think you can see down at the business show, we've got 53 exhibitors in there. We've got a wealth of business talent down here. Everybody's ambitious, full of inspiring ideas, and it's a great place to do business. So we've got a fantastic lifestyle down here, as well as some great business opportunities. Super fast broadband. There's no reason why you shouldn't come down here.
Absolutely. And the show, how has it been for you these couple of days?
Yeah, it's been a great show. We've had a packed seminar programme. We're halfway through the second day now. This is our second year of doing it. It's growing year on year. We're looking at bigger and better things for next year. So yeah, I think that it's been a good show.
Bernard, I think you have a message for Theo Paphitis why he should invest here in Cornwall with his businesses.
Absolutely. Cornwall's invested heavily in its infrastructure, in its business community. It's always had a hugely entrepreneurial business base, great new ideas, great people, great energy, lovely place to live and work. And we've got really good businesses, worthwhile looking at and investing in. With the expertise of someone like Theo coming down and sharing that knowledge with the energy we have in our business community, we could have some great successes and good returns on investment.
Perfectly said. What's there to think about? Well, continue to enjoy our shows here on Sky 212 and FreeSat 401. I'm going to get stuck in talking to these leading women here at the business show. Enjoy this week's show.
Fish, fabulous fish. All local fish, what's caught in this area. Some of it's just caught in St Austell Bay. £3.60, please. Do you like any sauce or anything? Salmon or anything on there that hasn't been caught locally, it sits there. If I have local fish, it sells.
New fishermen, they come in and buy the, dads bring them in and buy the first kit. If they actually catch a fish with it, they're absolutely over the moon. It's wonderful to see it.
I always think that the aquarium is a good interface between the commercial fishing industry and what they're trying to catch and the general public. They can come in here, they can see alive what they might expect on their plates if they go into a local restaurant or into the fish and chip shop.
I like most of them. I love gurnard, red mullet, Mackerel, fresh mackerel, you can't beat fresh mackerel.
We've come from Western Australia and we love our fish in Western Australia and we love our local beer, but there's nothing like a nice Cornish ale and fresh crab or fresh fish from the sea off Cornwall. So we think it's great here. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Theo Paphitis, and you are watching the Cornwall Channel.
Today we're on a very special road trip to meet a very, very important person. He's one of the country's top businessmen, and I have something in common with him. We both like cars. To avoid embarrassment, I've parked the Morris Minor round the corner. I so didn't want to show his car up. I'm pretty sure this is his car, judging by the number plate. But whose is it? Let's go and meet him now.
My guest today emigrated from Cyprus with his family at the age of 6. As a child, he was always the boisterous one who could never sleep, a trait I believe he still has to this day. The week before he left for England, his grandfather gave him his inheritance, a small collection of large pennies. This was to become known as his stash, his walking the street money. We'll come back to that later. Arriving in the UK, the family moved to the quiet area of Old Trafford in Manchester. That is quiet until the first Saturday, of course, home of Manchester United. He discovered football. At the age of 9, the family moved to a tenement building in North London in Tufnell Park. He is, in his own words, the man off the telly, not I am a shopkeeper. He is, of course, the retail magnate and entrepreneur, the very amazing Theo Paphitis. Theo, thank you so much for sparing a bit of, I know, very valuable time.
What a dramatic introduction. I could sit here all day. Could you do that again?
Well, we could, but I want to hear about you.
I nearly liked myself listening to that.
Oh, well, as I said, thank you. And I mentioned the tenement block because I want to go right back to your early time in North London, because there's a difference between being a businessman and an entrepreneur. And I want you to tell me a certain story about what it is to be an entrepreneur. About a parachute?
Ah, the parachute. The parachute. We were on the 4th floor of this tenement block with no lift. And probably won't understand what this means, but there used to be chutes at every landing where you put the rubbish down. And the garden was a balcony, basically. And I was bored. And I decided, looking down from the balcony, that I had nothing to do. And I just watched an army film. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be good if I just parachuted down rather than going down the stairs? And I got an old sheet together. And I thought, all I've got to do is just hold it, jump, and that should do it. Then I thought, you know what, it sounds a bit risky. I don't like heights anyway. So I thought what I'll do is try and attach it to a sack of potatoes and do a test run first. And the sack of potatoes literally went down like a sack of potatoes and spluttered at the speed of sound towards the floor. So that was my first lesson in testing things first before actually doing them.
Because a lot of people seem to think entrepreneurs just splash the cash here, there and everywhere, and they don't think. Some people perhaps do, but...
I don't actually take risks.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I've never ever bet the farm, and every particular risk I take or gamble I take is calculated, and the risk-reward ratio analysed. And if you do that, you got more chances of winning some than losing some.
At school you suffered from dyslexia, and your first job was as a tea-boy cleric in Wrighton Dean. And I suppose...
Cleric? It's a posh word. Clerk.
Clerk?
Clerk. Cleric. It sounds like you're something of the cloth.
Well, whatever you like. We'll call it.
My English language isn't obviously to your to your standards. No, I was basically assistant to the tea boy.
Excellent. Well, that's a very good start. But I mean, you had to write things out, which I mean, if you're dyslexic, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, fancy getting a job in an office when you can't read or write.
Right. But there was a girl there, wasn't there? Luckily enough, there was a girl there. And I'd like you to tell me what that girl did for you. What did she buy? Where did she buy it from? And what happened to her?
It's strange, but I was 16 at the time when I got this job. And it's after being turned down by... Well, I lost count of the number of rejection letters I'd received. And I couldn't stay on at school because I wasn't academic, I was struggling at school. So I had to get a job. And in the end, any job would do. I mean, it literally got to that stage. I needed a job. And I had all sorts of highfalutin aspirations about what I wanted to achieve. And having got this office job, which was quite amazing because it's the last knockings of the summer sort of intakes. And they just happened to have a vacancy. And the government had just happened to install a fantastic new scheme, which meant if you hired someone without previous working experience, they would pay for their salary for a year. So you got a £1,500 allowance from the government to employ somebody who hasn't had a job before. And guess what my salary was?
£20 a week.
£1,500 a year, that's right. So that was it, simple. I got a job. They just said, look, this halfway it's going to cost us nothing. He's here. All he has to do is make the tea. Even he can make the tea. And now and again, when he's not making the tea, he can do some filing. Mistake number one, the half-wit was dyslexic, so filing was probably going to be a bridge too far for both of us, really. So really, you start growing up and you start realising, as that great philosopher once said, that Clintos Eastwoodos, a good man must know his limitations.
Right.
And Magnum Force. Or Dirty Harry, actually.
Yes,
Dirty
yes,
Harry,
that's
Harry,
it. Yes.
Not Magnum Force. That was another great film. So I very quickly learnt my limitations. And without dealing with those issues, there was not going to be a future. So I had to teach myself again to write. And having met the current Mrs. P as a receptionist in that self-same business, we walked into Ryman in...
Who?
Ryman, you've heard of them? Stationer. No. Stationer. Borough High Street.
Borough
High Street.
Right.
Yeah, been there 120 years this year, allegedly.
So what
bought a calligraphy set and a dictionary.
That's fantastic.
Because don't forget, there was no computers in those days. Calculators had only just been invented. So, you know, that was like thousands of pounds to have a calculator. So it was a small pocket dictionary and a calligraphy set. And I sat there night after night, teaching myself again to write smartly. And then part of the job was obviously doing labels for these files. So all of a sudden, all these labels started looking very nice and pretty. And the gentlemen and the ladies of the city thought, God, this is an intelligent young man with work. See, look how well he writes, and he must be a man of letters and great intellect, which is all, of course, untrue. But I didn't hesitate to point that fact out to them. And we just went from there, really. And I started writing all the line slips that need to go to the underwriters to be endorsed. And it was the same words, which is great. So once you learnt those words, it was quite repetitive. But there was no, there was no computers. There was typewriters and a pen. And mine was much neater in a pen. So I was quite popular, and I would be sitting there knocking out these...
In longhand?
In longhand, these line slips, all day long. So my tea making got gradually worse. But then it became mundane and monotonous, to be
so you got...
perfectly frank.
Was it a couple of years you were there?
I did that. I did it, and then realised that it wasn't for me.
But what I think is rather lovely is that's where you met. What I really love is that Mrs. P is rather like Captain Mannering's wife. We never see her, you created this wonderful Mrs. P, and she's always just out of sight. And in your book, it's a love affair of two things, I think. It's a love affair with Mrs. P and a love affair with the world of business. But anyway, we digress a bit. I'd like to actually, you then had your first taste of retail. You went to sort of, I don't know, we've got the time.
Watches of Switzerland in Old Bond Street. It was another brand of theirs owned by the business, which was called Time, Tyme at the time. And that was my first taste of retail, and that was really when I realised that I love this. I could do this all day long. I couldn't wait to get to work in the morning, and I made more money.
And that comes out in the passion. And tell me about the very first £1,600 sale you made, and where you slightly went wrong with the manager. Coming back to being theatrical.
It's all part of life's rich learning curves as a 16, 18-year-old coming out of North London, where you know, it was all right to be butch and manly, and you know, these sort of things were something that you'd never encountered. I mean, just if you go back, we are now talking about a time where, you know, it was still, people still remembered the war, believe it or not. It was, whereas now you talk about the Second World War, I mean, it was just deep in history. It is now very much deep in history. At that time, there were still houses that had been bombed and were still not done up or demolished. So the world, it was a fast changing pace, and I think during my lifetime, I'm very lucky to have lived in a world that has changed at such a rapid pace, because we've gone through millenniums where the world hasn't changed that much.
And it's been a golden age.
It has been an incredible age. So for me, the experience of growing up and the world changing was an age of discovery. And to actually meet somebody that was gay was never in my psyche to realise that...
Who was gay?
Pardon?
Who was gay?
Well, I was come on to it. It was never in my psyche or even on my radar. Never mind to actually understand. So it was, my first sale was to a very, very elegant elderly gentleman who was well bred, who brought his nephew in to make a purchase. And on my first day, I managed to sell him a Rolex watch. I was ecstatic, absolutely ecstatic. And I ran downstairs where the stockroom was and what was classed as a staff room stroke office, which was basically a manky old sofa and a table, explaining to my manager, Derek Jeeves, that who had great faith in me, bless him, great faith in me. And I owe most of my retail expertise from his teachings, that I've made this sale. And how this wonderful aristocratic gentleman had come in and bought a watch for his nephew. And he congratulated me and said, well done. And I said, I was quite excited. And he said, well done. And he'll be in next week with another nephew to buy another watch. I said, well, how many nephews has he got? And he looked at me. And he looked at me. And the penny still hadn't dropped. It was just not even on my radar.
There was no reason I should. It was
no. So he said to me, that's not his nephew. I said, it wasn't his nephew? I said, he's not queer, is he? And then he said, strange enough, yes, as if you want to call it that. He said, and so am I. Anyway, so it was like, you know, no gaydar, nothing. It was brilliant, and that, of course, that brought you into the world, or a totally different world, and all that part of growing from coming from the wrong side of the tracks, and it's still an experience in life. Every day you learn, and you can add to your armoury of as a person. and your skill set. So yeah, that was a wonderful learning experience. I put in my
in your book, the passion of that first sale. It was like a little girl going to her first ball.
Incredible.
It really comes across.
And Derek became a family friend for years and years and years to come. So I'm very grateful to him.
For the Price of a Hat is a debut novel by Jeff Newman, a contemporary thriller of murder and intrigue set in Cornwall. The book's hero, ex-cop, paramedic Jack Morgan, is called to a 999 shout. Gut instinct yells at him that all isn't as it seems as the story unravels. The author's experience as an ex-military pilot and flying Cornwall's first air ambulance are interwoven through this exciting adventure. The book is available from www.jeffnewman.co.uk.
Your feet are possibly the most used and active part of your body, so it is important that you look after them at work or at play. My aim is to improve the way you look after your feet by offering high-quality treatments and advice on how to keep your feet healthy and happy. After all, prevention is always better than cure. Natalie Humphreys Podiatry is a mobile podiatry and chiropody service providing a high-quality foot care service at a reasonable price. I can provide advice and treatment on a wide range of foot health problems, for example, corns, verruca, thickened or fungal toenails, heel pain, foot deformities, ingrowing toenails, gait problems, foot pain, bunions, and any other foot problems you may be experiencing. I can also provide foot care for people who unfortunately can no longer reach their feet. Appointments are available throughout the day, and I will try to accommodate a time which is convenient for you. For an informal discussion or appointment, please feel free to call me.
Does your property suffer from mould and condensation? Southwest Ventilation offer a loft-mounted system supplied and fitted for just £499. With a 5-year guarantee and running costs of around £0.01 a day, it's the ultimate cure for mould problems. For a free site survey, call today on 0800 5999 269 or visit southwestventilation.co.uk. That's southwestventilation.co.uk.
Bargain tablet computers from Sweet Tablets. Guaranteed warranty and support. Loads of free accessories are included, saving you pounds. Easy to set up, connect to the internet and keep in touch via email and social networks.
It looks good. It does look good. It feels nice in the hand. It feels sturdy. It feels strong.
So would you recommend us to your friends at all?
I certainly would. I would indeed.
You can order via our website, sweettablets.com. Enter the coupon code PROPER to see your saving.
Newell's Travel, Cornwall's premier independent travel agent, are now offering Newquay to Bulgaria from just £336 per person. Departing on the 24th of May 2014 during half-term and the 12th of September 2014. You'll be staying at the Sunny Beach Resort for 7 nights with B&B board. For full details, please visit us at newellstravel.co.uk or by calling 0800 008 7411.
And then you were wanting to be on the up, so you then moved on from the shop to sort of finance after the shop.
Yeah, it was only a case that I realised that time needed to move on, and I was, as much as I enjoyed my passion, I needed to make more money, and I needed to use my skills appropriately, hone my skills, learn about business, learn about finance, and that I needed to move on. I couldn't just be a shop assistant or a store manager for the rest of my life. That wasn't really what my ambitions were. I needed to get some other skills, and that's what I went to do.
You did, and you then sort of, at 23, started your own business and went it alone. And can I just say, you know, was it perhaps the best thing that anyone ever said to you, that you could end up selling matchsticks on Victoria Station? Could you tell me about that?
It's when I first started my own business, and I left the comforts and the security of a well-paid job, a company car, subsidised mortgage. Used to get subsidised mortgages in those days. There was no tax penalty to having that.
Was it Myrus? Was it Myrus or something? You had tax relief on the first 30,000.
Oh, there was that as well. But
yes.
this was the fact that my mortgage, everyone else's mortgage was like 12%.
And
interest
you
rate,
could get
and because I worked for Legal and General, our mortgage was like 2%. So you could take a big mortgage and pay very little back because it was subsidised by the company. So I used to work for L&G, and I said I left that well-paid security job, everything, car, cheap mortgage, to start my own business. And last day, I was called in to see the area director, who made his one and only play to actually secure my services further. I wonder why I never did it earlier, actually, but there we are. But by that time, I'd already set up office just around the corner. And bless him. At the end of it, when he realised, no, strange enough, that's what one ex-employer I'm not in touch with. But I do owe him just as much as I owe Derek, to be honest with you. And as much as I love Derek, and this guy's name was Tim. I think Tim played his part as well in my progression. When he said, well, you'll end up selling matches at Victoria Station. That's what will happen to you, setting up business at the tender age of about 22.
Did it make you angry, that, or spur you on?
It gave me every motivation I required, because he was an arrogant twit, to be honest with you. Overpaid, over-promoted, and full of his own self-importance. Apart from that, he was a lovely individual.
Well, I'm glad you say that, because we've actually got him.
Yeah, I'd have to look very low because he's incredibly short as well. So I started to, my eye line went down.
So anyway, you learnt how to sort of refinance businesses.
Indeed.
And that sort of, in the sort of recession of the sort of 90s and 80s, everyone was sort of going down like 10-pin bowling things. Businesses were going thing, but you turned it around so that you actually managed to save businesses by sort of refinancing and then making money out of them, which is.
I think the point, interestingly enough, I'm going to a function tonight, and I've been asked to give a speech or give a few words prior to an awards ceremony, and one of the things they asked me to talk about is actually doing business in the recession and opportunities within the recession. And the reality is there's just as many opportunities when things are bad as when things are good. You've really got to open your eyes, and you can't
put your head in the ground and say it's all doom and gloom.
Exactly, you just cut your suit according to your cloth, and there's you end up seeing crumbs from much bigger tables that other people can't deal with. There's more opportunities for smaller businesses in a recession than there is in an upturn, to be perfectly frank with you. So, by opportunities, I mean sustainable opportunities. I'm not talking about flunky one-hit wonders. We are talking about sustainable building up a business. So, and that's really what I saw in those dismal days. I was able to make a living from it.
And then your first big turnaround was Astra Industrial Group.
Yeah, that was a proper turnaround. That was from bad to good, and from good to bad. I'd done the whole circle, and that was a real eye-opening experience again. When you think you're confident and you know everything, and you're not quite walking on water, but if there was some water on there, you were tempted to have a go. So it's a good slap down, to be honest with you. And I learned that if I'm out of my comfort zone, I shouldn't be. And I should never put myself in a situation where I'm out of my comfort zone. And it's if I am going to be in a situation where I'm out of my comfort zone, it's for me to make it my comfort zone before doing it. And working and relying on an environment that I didn't understand. And that was a deep, deep lesson. And at the time, did not seem a great lesson, I must be honest with you. It seemed pretty disastrous. But it was probably another of these great lessons you have in life, that you just don't appreciate how valuable it really is for much later in life, when you realize you've taken decision after decision after decision based on those experiences. And these decisions have been really good decisions for you. But really, when you break them down and find out why you took the decisions you took, you go back really to those nuggets of experiences that you had that were defining.
You grow.
Exactly.
I'm glad you mentioned water, because you then took on Splash that went splosh, really.
Well, that was part and parcel of the same thing, to be honest with you. And that was, you know, you pretty well bet the farm, went out your comfort zone, you relied on other people for things you didn't understand. If you rely on other people, make sure you can do the job as well. So, you know, all those things, I say to people, it's never, ever, ever nice getting things wrong. It's never, ever nice ending up on your arse. But when you do,
you
learn and use it, and it will, I promise you, will not be wasted.
Well, in my intro, I mentioned your inheritance, those large...
My bag of pennies, old
pennies.
English copper pennies.
And you always had your sort of street walking money, and that came into use with movie media. Can you tell me about that? You were down to we were down to the penny. Well, not pennies, but
we can, and we're in danger of videoing the whole book at this rate. But listen, always have your walking the street money. I've always said that. I'll continue to say that, because when things go wrong, that allows you to buy back into the game. And certainly when things went wrong at Astra and Splash for me, just having a little bit of money put to one side allowed me to buy back into the game, and this time play the game a lot better.
Right.
So always have some walking the street money, have something tucked away for a rainy day. Again, it sounds like something your granny might tell you, but your granny was right. You know, grannies normally are, actually, in fairness. So that goes back to that experience.
And mothers too.
Yeah, so, you know, always have something put to one side.
But you then, you sort of got that going, and then you decided you wanted another challenge, and you went into phones.
Well, for me, it was a natural progression. Technology I like, and as technology evolves, there's opportunities. We've seen some great technological businesses, IT businesses, that have sprung up just in the last 5 years that you'd never heard of before, that are now multi-billion dollar companies. Technology is something that you can get involved in very early doors and actually grow very, very quickly. And mobile phones were new at the time. And that's something that seemed of interest. I got bored with it very rapidly because it wasn't an industry that made sense at the time from the perspective of...
You'd sell them at a loss.
We did, exactly. You bought them and sold them at loss, and you relied on the largesse of whichever mobile operator you were working with at the time to pay you a kickback, a commission. And sometimes they did and sometimes they didn't. So you taking on long-term commitments like shops and all sorts of things, just purely and relying on ad hoc income, it goes against the grain of everything I'd learned previously. Some people took the gamble and did very, very well, but sometimes people take gambles on things they don't understand and it works out for them, and sometimes it doesn't.
The thing is to keep the costs down, is
Exactly.
it not? And what you didn't do is rush out and buy a load of shops.
No,
I did. And tell me the amazing thing.
I did a deal with a company that I bought a calligraphy set from all those years ago, Ryman the Stationers, and who allowed me to to have concessions within their stores. So
I mean, you didn't have to be tied into long leases or freeholds.
Correct, and that then, from me, allowed me to grow quickly, and then God knows how, but it did. Things went wrong for Ryman Stationers. Their parent company, Pentos, went into administration, and I was fortunate enough to look around, get all my coppers together, all my walk in the street money, and buy the business.
Well, if anybody's interested in being in business or being an entrepreneur, the pages of the purchase of Ryman's, I had to read it, I think, 3 times. It was so exciting. I found it hugely exciting.
Well, then we'll have to get people to buy the book and they can read all about it in the
we don't
book,
want to talk too much about the book because there's lots more in it that I haven't mentioned. So please do buy the book. It is here.
It is.
Is it in Ryman's?
It's not in Ryman's.
Right.
It's in good bookshops. It's in its 12th reprint at the moment, so it's doing all right.
Well, that's fantastic. But it is. It was a page turner. Just the buying of Ryman's, and what I thought was the last bit of the deal was the rents. You'd done all the paperwork, and then they suddenly said the rents are due the week after next. And what did you have to do?
It was a key defining moment, as there is many in those. But listen, buying any business is a challenge. But when you know it's right, and you've got the feeling it's right.
It's from there, isn't it?
You do then have to go that extra mile. And Lady Fortune needs to smile on you as well. Always remember that. I mean, anybody who thinks that it's all about them, it's wrong. Lady Fortune plays a part in our lives, and Mr. Bad Unfortune plays his part as well sometimes. So, you know, a whole lot of things come together to make that possible. And certainly some energy from me, some drive, some native cunning, experience, you name it, streetwise, it all played a part.
And then, well, you went on to buy lingerie businesses.
I think at that stage, what happened to me was I was at home. I'd arrived home. That was it. And from then onwards, the die was cast. The blueprint was there. The DNA had evolved. I'd reached my 30s, mids. And, you know, it took me to my mid-30s to find who I was and what I did best and what worked for me as an individual. And on the way, some battle scars, some pain, some anguish, some tears, a reasonable amount of laughter as well. But, you know, I was formed. I was who I was going to be. So it takes that long. So it's very strange when you hear sometimes when you go, school kids say, "Oh, I don't know what I want to do, Mr. Paphitis, can you give me any advice? You know, I don't know what my career path is." Well, you know, it's unlikely. Very few people are blessed to say, this is what I want to be at the age of 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It's all part of life's growing up and experiences that actually show you what you want. So it's not wrong to go and try jobs. And you might not like them. And it's not wrong for people to move around early in their career to find what really works for them. And the advice I give them is follow your passion. If you can follow your passion, you're likely to be good.
Do something you enjoy.
Because you're a long time dead. And then it's too late to have regrets.
Well, during all this period, you spent 8 years chairman of the Millwall Football Club, and you took it out of administration and took it into the FA final. What did you learn from
Millwall?
Millwall?
What I learned from Millwall, lots and lots and lots. And You know, Millwall for me was a labour of love. It was a passion. I've never taken drugs. I hate drugs. I detest people who take drugs. And if you're after a high and a low, just visit the Den. You'll get highs and you'll get lows. And football does that for you. It gave me some incredible highs, you know, going to Wembley, getting to the FA Cup final, getting into Europe, getting promotion. And we had some terrible lows where we had some problems in the stadium. I got dragged up to New Scotland Yard and, you know, chained to a chair, and a truncheon was used on my kneecaps and my fingers by the commissioner. Not that literally, obviously, he didn't do things like that verbally, but it might as well have been. You know, it was just a marvellous experience. It was some of the best 8 years of my life, very competitive. Certainly every Saturday shortened your lifespan by several years, but it was fabulously passionate, and I am a passionate person, and that gave me that, you know, allowed me to exert that passion and use that passion, and of course at the end of it, introduced me to something new, the media.
Yes, and we had Dragon's Den, which I believe you're bowing out of.
I've retired. They're filming a new series now, which is just finished. Will be out later on this year. So, but without me, I've done my.
Will you miss it?
I miss it terribly. And talking to the guys when they were filming, you know, was strange. Talking to them when they were filming, and I think I sit in my chair for the last time the day before filming started, but because I was up there. Buy it? No. But the BBC do own it. BBC do own it. They assured me they bought them off the hire company.
I think you should have
but
it.
I think I should have it as well. I think if they change
Look,
chairs.
Now look here, BBC. I'm saying here that Theo should have that chair, please. So anyway, what I think is so amazing, it's not the money that's the big turn on anymore, is it?
No, the money. I don't get out of bed for money in the morning. That can't. I love getting to work in the morning, and I love working till the wee small hours because I'm a night owl. But it's not. You don't get out of bed in the morning to make money anymore. For me, it's a scorecard. It's a way of keeping score. Accountant does the numbers at the end of the year, tells you what your tax you owe, and you know, it's boy done good or boy done bad. It really is a byproduct. It's a scorecard. That's what it is now. I'm very fortunate enough to do something I'm passionate about, and I can tell you I've set my retirement date, which is when I die, basically, because I just want to do what I do
and enjoy it.
And enjoy it forever.
Well, I've had lots of messages from people down in Cornwall saying we'd very much like you to come down and do something in Cornwall, and perhaps there's a business centre at the airport, I understand, at Newquay Airport. So if you can manage to pop down to Cornwall and encourage people down there.
It would be a pleasure. I mean, Cornwall's a lovely part of the world. I am now actively searching for another UK property, and I can't think of a better place to have it. So if anybody's got any great ideas about Cornwall, send them down, please.
Well, that's great. And I was in Cornwall yesterday. I got back very late last night, and a little bird said to me that you know, you like fishing. With a granite top, sort of little person said. And Theo, you've always been in the right place at the right time. So, on behalf of Cornwall, can I give you a place?
Fantastic. Well, there we are. And that will take pride and place on my desk and remind me about Cornwall. How's that?
That's marvellous.
Excellent.
Theo Paphitis, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Cornwall is really important to me. I'm a born and bred Cornish girl, was born in Truro, lived in St Austell, grew up there. When I was at university, I was absolutely convinced that I was going to have to move to London to fulfil my career aspirations. But then when I decided to set up my own business, there was no doubt in my mind that it would be anywhere other than Cornwall. 2 years ago I started my business, and it was so frustrating having to cope with really appalling slow internet speeds. At one point we were even running on less than 1 meg. It was really, really hard to be able to work efficiently, productively, and deliver them the service that they really needed. It's quite a creative business, so I'm able to use my creative talents and my passion and love for weddings. It's a really long process from start to finish. So it will start with the customer getting in touch, and there'll be many, many, many months of photos, details, descriptions, links being sent, and then I will create a product that's completely unique. It makes people smile, laugh, point, want one for themselves. It's lovely to be able to create such joy and happiness for the couple and create orders all across the world, from Germany, the USA and Singapore. So it's been fantastic to get such a fast speed, enabling me to do lots of things at once. Looking towards the future, I'd like to definitely use video a lot more in my marketing, and also I'd like to use Skype more so that I can actually have face-to-face conversations with my customers. A lot of people think that if you do business in Cornwall, you're in the middle of nowhere, but actually with Superfast, you're in the middle of everywhere. My name is Cassie Lawrence, and I run Cake Top Characters, sculpting bespoke caricature cake toppers from clay.
The Rock Inn has recently undergone a refurbishment, and we're delighted to introduce you to your new look local. We have created a new menu that has something for everyone, and we accompany our food with a great selection of drinks. We are proud of our selection of cask ales and offer a rotational selection. We ensure that all our customers, old, present and new, receive the warmest welcome, and we do our best to make your visit to the Rock Inn one to remember. We look forward to seeing you very soon.
Kingsley Entertainment, the Southwest premier dealer for Bose, Sonos and Sony. The concept of our store is unique. You can see, touch and hear everything from the biggest brands in the world of home entertainment. We're conveniently located just off the A30 at Kingsley Village, Fradden. Why not pop in and speak to one of our highly trained staff? Kingsley Entertainment, the premier dealer for Bose, Sonos and Sony in the Southwest. If you live in Cornwall or you're just simply visiting, then you must take time to sample the mouth-watering Nepalese and Indian cuisine being offered by the Gurkha restaurant in St Austell. Enjoy the flavours and delights of their cooking in a relaxed and friendly restaurant. View their menu online at nepalesegurkha.co.uk or book a table on 01726 673 90. Welcome to Fenteroon Farm Holiday Cottages, tucked away down a long tree-lined driveway, set in 12 acres of Cornish countryside near the River Camel, and half a mile from the small market town of Camelford are 4 stylish and lovingly renovated barn conversions. Choose from 4 cottages, the smallest sleeps up to 2 guests, the largest up to 6 guests. Please visit our website, fenteroonfarm.co.uk, for latest availability and online booking facility.
I'm riding on that midnight train, my head's a hanging low. These awful blues will follow me wherever I may go. No matter what I say or do, you're never satisfied. I've tried so many times, I'm even
We're Flats and Sharps, and we're sat in a field at the moment, and I'm here to tell you how we.
I've got a girl sat on my knee. She's the sweetest I
at the Cornish Bluegrass Festival on a fateful year, about 4 years ago. And Kirk and I had only been playing our instruments about 2 weeks, so we were frankly bloody awful. Josh, you were playing Strummy Strummy.
Strummy Strummy, I didn't even know G. Just strumming the guitar.
You were playing Strummy Strummy as well.
Yeah, I didn't even know the bass
We've just finished recording our first studio album with 12 originals in kind of bluegrass and newgrass twists with 4 traditional bluegrass standards.
The sun will rise on another day, and all the troubles of today seem to blow away, but I'm stuck in time. The clocks won't change for me. I was born in a different time, wasn't meant to be today. In my head I'm back where I belong, in a life so far away. I was born in a different time, wasn't meant to be today. In my head I'm back where I belong, in a life so far away. It's quite an accessible form of music, really, bluegrass. It's the sort of thing, say if we're playing in a bar or busking on the street, it's the sort of thing where someone, even if they've never heard it before or not even really into music at all, they can just sort of walk by and it'll catch their vibration. We get quite a lot of people dancing to it, which is quite nice. Like at weddings, you'll have a little 4-year-old rocking out, and at the same time, the granny, she'll be shuffling and doing her thing. And then obviously all the other drunken fools at a wedding seem to love it. Same in pubs as well, actually.
Most of it's kind of simple melody, but a lot of it's improvisation. Anyone can join in.
If you know the key of G.
God's
own key.
Absolutely, yeah. And people kind of respond to. I don't really want to think of it as more simple music, but it's just easier to listen to. But at the same time, it's easy to play, but almost impossible to master, I'd say.
I bet you full of old school games. It lies like rain on the window pane. I could love you, but then I cried. The thought of friends, I'd sooner die. You don't love me anyway. The thought of you turned to grey. With the jet sideline, I'm still lost in time. The darkest shade of light. The darkest shade of light.
If we were to go around saying that we are nothing but a bluegrass band doing nothing but bluegrass songs all the time, I think eventually you'd very much limit yourself to strictly bluegrass festivals and be compared to, if not always labelled to, all the other bluegrass bands. But I think part of our angle is because we are from such different backgrounds in the music that we write and sometimes cover, like we do a Kings of Leon song and blah blah blah. It's kind of not really newgrass, just kind of songs that we've written with a bluegrass, really heavy bluegrass influence.
1, 2, 3. I know that I'm to blame if you don't love me. I know I'm to blame if you're untrue. But I'll lie awake at night thinking all along you're right. I know that I'm to blame if you're untrue. Yeah, No, it's this sort of thing. We do what we enjoy, really, and it happens that what we enjoy is getting together and having a nice old jam and a chit chat, and then a lovely song will come out of it.
And because bluegrass is just it pulls in the chicks.
Oh yeah, oh completely. We have to beat them off with a stick. It's like wading sometimes.
I remember what you said the night you left. I could hardly hold back the tears. I'll wait for your love. I'll wait for your love. Take back the years. So take me home, set me free, take me up to the sky so blue. Take my heart, take my soul, leave what's left on my bones. Take me up, set me free, won't you please? Take my heart, take my soul, leave what's left on my bones. Take me up, set me free, won't you please?
Cornwall is special. Cornwall is special for plants people, and it always has been. And our climate is just amazing for plants. We can get to grow stuff that you just can't grow elsewhere. Lost Gardens at Halligan is a beautiful, tranquil place with a lot of history and tradition that you can see, and a working garden. You know, we've got things here that you just won't see other places.
These gardens are very amazing and interesting.
That's fantastic, you know, it's looks like a lot of work's been put into bringing the gardens back to as they are today, and it's lovely, fantastic, it's a nice place to come.
I think you'd have to say it was a cottage garden style, but I do let nature in. I like the flowers to seed and do their own thing as well. It's particularly good early spring because we get quite warm springs and a longer season than elsewhere in the land.
So this is the kind of thing where you can spend an afternoon here, you can wander around and relax, I think have a cup of tea here, a biscuit and that kind of stuff, and yeah, it's just generally good for relaxing, I think.
I like to look round and get ideas for my own garden. It's lovely to see the plants in the setting that it is, and it does give you inspiration for your own planting.
It's a very peaceful garden, and we do like to attract the wildlife, butterflies and bees, and lots of little frogs from the pond and things like that.
Thank you for watching this week's Cornwall Channel. We would love to hear from you, your thoughts and ideas for future Cornish programmes. This dedicated weekly channel for Cornwall on Sky and Freesat aims to deliver information and local programmes. If you have any news you think we should cover, then please get in touch using our website at cornwallchannel.co.uk or via our Facebook and Twitter pages. See you next week.